What is going on, guys? Welcome to another episode on SportsLink Exchange. Today we're doing top 20 NFL quarterbacks. This is kind of a consensus ranking of how they've done in their career, what they did this past year, what we expect them to do this next year. And me and Will have separate lists. You guys are going to see that. And we may have some things that are a little controversial, a few things that are a little understandable. But yeah, we're going to give you guys our top 20 quarterbacks today. So, coming up with the number one quarterback in the NFL for both of us. It's pretty self explainable. Patrick Mahomes, amazing player, 3 Super Bowl rings, leads the league in passing yards all the time. His receivers were known all year for dropping passes. Comes to the playoffs, what does he do? Puts the team on his back, brings another Super Bowl. You really can't count this man out when it comes to anything at this point. Like, I was a big Patrick Mahomes, like, not hater, but like, oh, I thought he was kind of falling off this year. I thought it was getting a little rough. Playoffs come around, completely changed my mind. You really can't count this man out at all.
I mean, watching his adjustments throughout the year to adjust to a little bit of a less talented receiving core, it was phenomenal. He's going to be the GOAT. He's
Yeah.
going to. I mean, obviously, you got to pass Tom Brady there, right? But Patrick Mahomes has everything that Tom Brady does, and probably more, as far as talent wise goes.
Yeah, he's definitely on that trajectory. I know people are always going to hold against him. Oh, what are you guys going to say about Tom Brady beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs, beat him in the Super Bowl? This is Tom Brady on a completely loaded up Buccaneers team, offense and defense. And if you guys really go watch the highlights from that game, Patrick Mahomes was running for his life the entire game. The defensive front was getting after him, and the Chiefs' defense wasn't what it is back then. Tom Brady had a lot easier reads than Mahomes did, and I don't really think that's a fair argument to hold one game against him, especially with the career he's building right now.
And hey, we saw at the end of the Super Bowl whenever those receivers were covered up, Patty Mahomes take off for a 14 piece.
Yep.
Like he's the GOAT. He put that team on his back.
Yeah, he did the ultimate carry job this year.
Yeah.
All right, so now is
Yeah,
where we're
I
gonna
think
get.
the only people who hate him are the ones that hate Jackson and hate his wife.
Yeah, which is understandable, but to hold that against Pat is a little crazy.
Right, absolutely.
All right, so here we're gonna get a little controversial. I'll explain mine first. I got Justin Herbert as the second best quarterback in the NFL. I mean, all these guys are pretty interchangeable. They're all insane levels of talent. But if you look at what Justin Herbert's done his whole career, I mean, he throws a beautiful deep ball. He has one of the most accurate passes in the game. He puts up the most points per game almost every single year. And I think it's a little unlucky that this dude has had no defense his entire career. As many points as he puts up, his defense is letting up more, almost 30, 40 points per game every single year. And another unlucky bit, he got drafted to the AFC West, where, as we just mentioned, he's competing twice a year against Patrick Mahomes, the future GOAT. So he's got a lot of things going against him. But I think Justin Herbert, skill wise and just quarterback wise, is the second best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, and I went with Josh Allen because he's an absolute physical specimen. I mean, how many quarterbacks do you look at and you're like, man, he's going to run over my linebacker, and
Yeah.
he does. I think that's also a little bit of a hitch in his game. He's going to learn to get down sometimes, he could ruin his career trying to run through linebackers. But when you look at his numbers, Josh Allen's numbers, I mean, he had the best Pro Football Focus grade in the NFL that year,
Yep.
with a 91.3. That's elite stuff. Another hitch in his game is the interceptions. He had a 29 to 18 touchdown interception ratio. You know, it's tough because he's trying to make plays for that offense whenever guys are either dropping passes or Diggs isn't getting open. Diggs is getting a little bit older. I think they need some more weapons as far as younger guys, and I think that'll really show. I think Josh Allen will really be a stud next year. I think they come out guns a blazing next year.
Yep. 100% agree with what you're saying. I mean, there's really no wrong answer when it comes to these top five guys. They're all elite talents. Josh Allen, if you look at their offense they played in this year, I mean, it was a pass first offense, so obviously when you're passing that much, the interceptions are going to come. If you go look at the actual film, though, some of those weren't even his fault, popping off receivers' helmets and stuff, popping off their hands. And
Yep.
like almost half of them, they're third and long, third and 15, and they're just chucking the ball down the field. They're going to punt the next play anyway. So if you really look at them, they're just arm punts. Go give your receiver a one-on-one. I mean, if you really want to hold those against Josh Allen when the offensive coordinator is really saying just chuck it deep, you can, but you can't really
Yep.
hold too much of that against him. Plus, when you have a running threat like that, you look at the rushing touchdowns, that really adds another dynamic as well.
Yeah, I mean, he can kick you both ways. I think the only difference between the Bills and the Chiefs this year is that Chiefs defense.
Oh yeah,
Only
Chiefs defense
difference.
was nasty this year.
Yeah.
And that's another thing I like about Justin Herbert too. He's always been a big physical runner as well. Similar size, similar build to Josh Allen. So he can go run a dude over as well. He can go get some
He
yards with
just
his
don't,
legs if he needs to.
he just don't do it like Josh Allen does it.
No, obviously, Josh Allen's like the strongest quarterback in the league. He'll truck
Oh yeah,
somebody, but Justin
he's got
Herbert's
that
got a big build
Midwestern
as well.
strength.
Yep. All right, coming up on pick three, you can go first if you'd like.
Oh, Joe Shiesty. I think the only reason I don't have him at two is because he had injury trouble last year. Um, I mean, Joe's a proven winner. He, the accuracy on his balls are crazy. Uh, his time at LSU, that offense was the scariest offense in college football history.
Yep.
That was the best Heisman run in Heisman history, and he's obviously showing in the NFL he can do it in the NFL as well.
100% beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs too. Not a lot of people can say they've done that. Yeah, I'm not going to go too in depth with my third pick here. It's Josh Allen. We just said a bunch of stuff about him. All those things still hold true. I mean, like I said, these guys are interchangeable. I just think when it comes to arm talent and accuracy and just quarterback skills alone, Justin Herbert's slightly above. But Josh Allen obviously can go running a 40-yard rushing touchdown like we saw in the playoffs this year. So, I mean, there's just different skill sets with these types of guys. But yeah, Josh Allen, number three. Number four, Joe Burrow here. All these guys are pretty interchangeable, but Joe Burrow beat Mahomes in the playoffs. Throws one of the prettiest balls in the league. Extremely accurate, proven leader. I mean, everything you'd want in your franchise quarterback, Joe Burrow provides that for you. And to get another healthy year out of him this year, we don't know if T. Higgins is going to be back, but they have some salary space. They might draft QB. I mean, they might draft another wide receiver. They need to get him some help with the O line because he's had like a bottom five offensive line his whole career. But I mean, when this man is healthy and protected, there's not really another quarterback in the league better than him. We just haven't really seen it for a full year, so it's going to be interesting what happens this year.
And honestly, another reason why he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I mean, he's been able to make great stats even with a crappy O line.
Yep.
He beat Patrick Mahomes with a crappy O line. Granted, that Chiefs defense wasn't what it is now. However, Joe Burrow was Joe Burrow still won the game.
And as we saw, he lost the Super Bowl because of his crappy O line. No protection the
Yeah,
entire game.
yeah. Discount double check. A Rod, come on, dude. There was no way I was leaving him out of my top five. His history of being a great NFL quarterback. He's one of the greats. His athleticism, his deep ball passes, everything he does as a quarterback is beautiful. It's articulate. It's like watching Picasso paint. He's gonna be one of the goats. He's gonna be in the Hall of Fame. I don't care what drugs he takes. I don't care what he does. He's a goat on the field.
Yeah, I mean, he's a
Uh,
top five
obviously,
quarterback
obviously
all
he
time.
obviously he tore his Achilles last year, and that really put a bummer on it. We haven't really seen him with the Jets besides the 4 snaps. But dude's a dog. Put him on that field with Greg Wilson, Randall Cobb. He's gonna get him the ball.
Yep, 100% agree. Top five quarterback all time. It really depends on what we're going to see from him this year. A lot of these guys have had injury questions and stuff, so they're moving up and down the list a little bit. I'm a little bit lower on Aaron Rodgers because, like I said, we have no clue what he's going to look like this year. He might come out and look terrible, and then he's going to fall out of our top 20s. He might come out this year and look like he never took a snap off, and he's going to jump straight back up my list. But yeah, right now
You're
I'm
just
a
a
little
hater because he's got white in his beard, bro.
yeah, I'm a little bit lower on him. He's an old man coming off pretty serious injury. I mean, we he hasn't played football in over a year now. We have no clue what he's going to look like, but he can easily come back up this list.
Sure.
You want to go with your fifth pick, or I'll go first?
You can go first.
All right, pick five, C.J. Stroud. This man's a dog. Coming into this year, I was like, okay, Texans gonna have a top five pick again. They have nothing on this team. Defense, it's all right. They got a new defensive-minded head coach, so it might step up. Had no expectations for the offense at all. Nico Collins before this year, had no expectations for that guy. Tank Dell, fifth round rookie, undersized, tight end. They got a washed dude off the Cowboys. Cowboys didn't want anything to do with him. Texans took him in. CJ Stroud lifted all these guys up. He makes the guys around him better, throws a beautiful deep ball, leads his team. Everyone wants to play for him. there's a certain characteristic when it comes to a quarterback. Like you have to have a little bit of charisma. You have to have your team wanting to play for you. And I feel like the whole world kind of fell in love with CJ this year. Like not only did the stats on the field show why he's such a good quarterback, but the fact that he made his entire team that much better, just he has to be top five for me. Like he's that good.
You know, everything about him is it's the mold of what you want as a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
He has that. He has the swagger. He has the arm. He has the legs. He has the eyes to read defenses. He put up all these stats with an average, talented Houston team.
Yep.
I mean, Houston was awful last year without him,
Had no
or the year before
expectations.
last without him, zero. And then he comes in and does that with almost the same team.
Yep.
I mean, minus the Tank Dell edition, those two have a great chemistry that's going to last for years to come. I just didn't feel comfortable putting a rookie in his first year this high on the list.
That's understandable. But I'm looking at Brock Purdy right now, and I do have some questions right there.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, you can say that.
All right, let's talk numbers here in his 2 years. And everybody can say he's the check down king or
Which he is.
whatever. Hold on. To do this in the NFL is still a crazy thing to do. I don't care how talented your team is. Doesn't matter. 31 touchdowns to 11 picks,
Okay.
4,280 yards, 9.6 yards per average, yards per attempt. That doesn't look very check downish to me. I mean, let's look over to Josh Allen, who goes, who everybody big arm goes downfield, 7.4 yards per attempt. Just saying. Also, Brock Purdy had an 88.4 PFF grade. That's good for I think top 10 in the NFL. His completion rate was 69.3. That's super high for an NFL quarterback. That's higher than a lot of guys on this list. So if you're just looking straight at these numbers, which I am, and he also brought them to the Super Bowl, which is true, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL.
Hey, I'm not hating on anything you're saying. I will point out for the viewers that 9.6 average depth of target, that does factor in run after catch. So I don't care that it's 9.6. You dump it down to Christian McCaffrey, he runs 60 yards down the field. It's going to bring your average depth of target up. So,
Hey, he can't help the offense he's in, but
hey,
he's doing a damn good job of running it.
good for Brock Purdy, but throw me in the 49ers system. I'm a top five quarterback right now. That's all I got to say, bro.
Big cock Brock, he's that guy.
All right, you can go with your pick six. Literally, your
Yeah,
pick
yeah.
six.
My pick six, Dak Prescott. Everybody hates on Dak and all these things, but again, this is another guy. Look straight at his numbers, right? 36 touchdowns to 9 picks. I mean, I think if we're looking at a blind test without looking at the person behind, 36 to 9, 4,516 yards passing, 7.7 yards per attempt, completion rate of 69.4, and a 90.8 Pro Football Focus score. That's a top 10 quarterback in my eyes.
Hey, I think Dak had a great year. Obviously, no argument there. But I mean, like we said, this is going a little bit into projections. Everyone kind of expected Dallas to have a more run-heavy play system this year. They came
For
out,
sure, yeah.
threw the ball down the field a lot. No one really expected it. Not taken away from Dak at all. Top three in passing yards this year. Insane
Yeah.
year. But we also saw the year before that, leading the league in interceptions. So that's a little bit of inconsistency there. A little scary. I
I
mean,
call it adjustments.
call it what you want. He had a phenomenal year this year. So I have him a little bit lower, but no hate there. Dak Prescott, great quarterback. Gonna get a big bag this year. Looking to reset the quarterback market. So he's gonna
Yeah,
make
he's
some
going to get a
money.
big bag and ruin the rest of the team where they can't sign anybody else. And
Yeah.
then they do the same Dallas crap that they do for the last,
Micah
I don't know, what,
Parsons will
30
be off the
years.
team next year. So my pick
Yeah.
six right here, we got Jordan Love, another dude, kind of his rookie year. I know he's had a couple years behind Aaron Rodgers, but this is his first full year as a starter. We saw him make some insane throws. He had the youngest team in the NFL. Another guy, kind of like C.J. Stroud, carried his team into the playoffs. No one had any expectations for this Packers team this year. Still went out, threw for 4,200 yards, 64% completion percentage as a rookie. I mean, those stats are just insane. Almost 250 passing yards per game, and they still ran the rock a lot with Aaron Jones. 96.1 passer rating, 62.1 quarterback rating. Both of those are top 10 in the NFL. I mean, say what you want. NFC North is going to be disgusting in a couple years. I mean, we got the Bears on the come up with the number one overall pick. The Lions, we've seen how nasty they were this year. Jordan Love and the Packers on the come up. I mean, it legit looks like the Vikings are going to be given hell for the next 5-10 years. Like, it's going to be tough for that division. So,
Yeah. For the Packers to get where they got, they really needed Jordan Love to do something like that.
yeah.
Aaron Jones with his hamstring bothering him all year long, which really just really upset me with my fantasy. That killed me.
Yeah, I
First
didn't
week, I'm
draft
like,
him.
dude, I got Aaron Jones. He did great, and then his little hammy had an issue. I think he really needs to talk to Aaron Rodgers and ask him how he healed from the Achilles so fast.
Go take a little darkness retreat.
Somebody figure it out. But Jordan Love had a great year. I certainly didn't expect it.
No, not at all.
Um, yeah,
The
it really
Packers
came
can't
out of
keep getting
nowhere.
away with this, bro. They really can't.
I thought he was a bust,
Yeah, I
straight up.
mean, it's unbelievable. The Packers, 50 straight years almost, three incredible quarterbacks. Like, it's really not fair at this point.
And really, how many Super Bowls to show for it in the last 30
Hey, the same thing with
with
Jordan
these
Love.
great quarterbacks?
Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love, they can't beat the 49ers, bro. They, whatever curse they got going on to get their franchise quarterback, it involves not being able to beat the 49ers, obviously.
Aaron Rodgers probably did some voodoo shit the one year they won the Super Bowl.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
All right,
All right. Well,
so
I mean, I don't really have to go too much into Justin Herbert. I think he's there for the reason, all the same reasons that you had Herbert real high. I just the I want to see him do better. Like I feel like there's so much better there
yep.
that I haven't seen. And so once I see him do the things that I know he can do and that you know he can do, then he'll be pushed up higher on this list. If you'd have told me prior to the year,
All right, you're back. You're good.
it's on the iPhone mic. I'm trying to switch it back to my AirPods fucking died.
No, yeah, you're good.
Does it sound fine on the regular mic?
Yeah, no, it sounds fine.
Okay, then we'll switch to that. Um, where was I?
Justin Herbert needs to progress a little bit, show off his capabilities.
Yeah, I think so. Again, like I said with Herbert, once he shows me what he can do, I'll push him up the list.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be a completely different conversation, like I said, if he had a, at least above average defense rather than worst in the league every single year. But hey, I mean, I understand he hasn't really won anything, and as a quarterback, you have to win. So I don't hate it at all that you have him this low. Like, it's understandable.
Yeah.
Right here, I got Matt Stafford, Super Bowl winning quarterback, toughest dude in the league, like tough as nails. We saw him this year in the playoffs. Looked like he got absolutely concussed, but he decided to get up, pretend like he had a rib injury so he could stay in the game, put the team on his back. Like tough dude. Every single year he has a new wide receiver one. We saw him with Calvin Johnson. We saw him with Cooper Kupp with his Triple Crown year. Now he has Puka Nakua, a seventh round rookie, coming to the league, and he makes him a wide receiver one. Like Matthew Stafford just has some connection with his top wide receiver, and it's unbelievable the things he can do, the stats he can accumulate, and not only that, he can win some big games too. We saw him win the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. Last going into last year, he was a lot lower on my list. We saw him deal with the UCL injury in his arm, and he had a pretty bad year last year. So coming in, it was a little questionable. Is he washed? Is he too old now? What's going to happen? Nope, he bounced right back this year. 3,965 passing yards. I mean, 21, I mean, not 21, 24 touchdowns, 11 picks. Like, dude had a phenomenal year. I think he pushed the washed allegations back. He still has a couple more years left in the tank. And he really just went out there and showed, like, it really was the elbow injury. It wasn't a skill set issue whatsoever. So, Matthew Stafford, to win a Super Bowl, still up here on my list.
Yeah, Matthew Stafford's a stud. I can't say anything bad about him. I think, and the reason that he's not right there for me is simply because of the talent these other two guys have that are that are right there. And I think once Matthew Stafford is really healthy for a full year, without having to fight through constant injury,
Yep.
then we'll see Matthew Stafford really be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL.
And like I said, all these top 10, all dominant dudes, like you really can't go wrong when you're in this top 10 list at the NFL level. These dudes are all studs.
Oh, 100%. Which is kind of why we decided to go from the top to the bottom, right? Is because all these guys are extremely interchangeable. They're all right there, neck and neck with each other, except Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes, what he does in the playoffs just puts him a whole tier above everyone else.
Yeah.
This is where things get a little controversial. I mean, you can say what you want. Kyler Murray is a freak of nature. Top 10 pick in the NFL, top 10 pick in the MLB. Dude's a stud at everything he does. He's walking gold. We saw him either his rookie year, his second year. That Cardinals team started 12 and 0, 13 and 0. Like uh, they had an insane run. Their talent wasn't that great. Never has been in the Kyler Murray era. His wide receivers very questionable. I mean, Marquise Brown, a washed Marquise Brown, like that's his best wide receiver. A 35-year-old DeAndre Hopkins, that's his best wide receiver. Like he's been ridiculed with all these problems his whole career, injury issues, and we saw what happened last year under a rookie head coach, Jonathan Gannon. Kyler Murray came back into the system, won a couple big games, won some overtime games. Like, dude could put the team on his back, super quick, super shifty. If the first read's not there, second read's not there, he'll go take off for 30 years. He's not just a one read quarterback. He can do a multitude of different things, all the things you'd want from your quarterback. And he also throws with a lot of insane accuracy. Like Kyler Murray, I think this year, if the Cardinals go out and get Marvin Harrison Jr. or Malik Neighbors, maybe go get a wide receiver in free agency, put some talent around him, along with Trey McBride coming up a little bit. I think Kyler Murray, this might be a hot take, is going to be in contention for the MVP this year, if not win it. And the Cardinals, I think, could win the NFC West above the 49ers. I think Kyler Murray with a team around him and Jonathan Gannon, a defensive minded head coach, this team is going to be insane next year. Everyone, the way we saw the Texans rise up this year and nobody expected it, I have expectations for the Cardinals like that next year. Like I said, hot take, but Kyler Murray's that dude. So when that happens, y'all can come back to this video and give me my flowers.
There's only one thing that I have to say against that is where's their line?
Hey, Paris Johnson, bro. They drafted him last
One
year. They're gonna be
one guy.
they're gonna go get another guy this year.
Oh,
And they
so
don't e-
so
they don't
another
even need an O
rookie.
line.
They don't need an O
It's
line.
Kyler motherfucking Murray.
That's real hot, real
Nah,
hot.
this dude's chilling.
He's obviously a freak.
Yeah,
He does some really special. Obviously, he was one of the. He is the. There is no doubt. There is no question. He was the best high school quarterback in Texas football history,
stud.
and he did that for a reason. But right now in the NFL, I think there's a lot of other better quarterbacks than him.
Hey, yeah, I mean the guy on your list right now is a running back. So let's hear what you have to say to back this up right now.
Lamar, another freak.
Yeah,
He's more gifted athletically as a runner than
hundred
Kyler Murray
percent,
is.
100%.
Okay, so we agree on that.
But Kyler Murray is 100% a better passer, no question.
He's 60, 70% better passer, but Lamar Jackson has been on the field consistently. So that's kind of why I have Lamar Jackson up here instead,
No hate.
really. It is just because Lamar Jackson's done it at a consistent pace. I think what we really saw in the playoffs this past year, you could tell that the running back allegations were in his ear.
Yeah,
He had 15, 20 yards of space to run, and he would throw it into a window instead or throw it away. It's like, Lamar, do what you do, run the football. And,
yeah.
and that team might win that game if he just takes what's given. But his freak athleticism is really what I have him up there for. And he's the guy who can put a team on his back and win the big ship. So Lamar Jackson, I'm real high on him.
Hey,
Just need him to be him. He doesn't need to be anybody else. Everybody can call him a running back, but he just needs to be him.
I mean, he has just as many MVPs as Patrick Mahomes, so that speaks for itself. He could
Does
carry the team. I don't think this Ravens team is anywhere near what it is without Lamar. The only thing that dropped him on my list a little bit, we saw what happened when they got eliminated from the playoffs. They got the box stacked, completely took the running game away, which that was the Ravens' bread and butter all year. Run the ball, and when they stopped the run, pass the ball. When the run got completely taken away, we saw Lamar Jackson a little bit scared to pass the ball. He didn't want to be the guy to, oh, I made that mistake. Oh, I fumbled in the playoffs again. Like, he didn't want those allegations. He wanted to just run the ball, take the easy checkdowns, which weren't there for him. And I think if he would have just put the ball down the field, they could have won that game. But he didn't want to. It was a little scary for him. And he's still going to have those allegations till he proves them wrong. I mean, he needs to win in the playoffs. And it's a little scary.
Now, now let's also grade him as simply a quarterback. Okay, 24-7 touchdown reception rate. It's pretty good. 3,678 passing yards. It's pretty good. Completion rate 67.1. It's pretty good. 90.3 Pro Football Focus score. Really good.
Rushing touchdowns, rushing yards, too.
I was talking about just pure quarterback.
I agree. I know what you're saying, but like people might
We
wonder,
know what he can do as a runner.
24 passing
But for
touchdowns
position.
doesn't feel like a lot, but they ran the ball and Lamar got him down the field. Like
Yeah, I think
that
that's
doesn't
a
speak
lot more on just their offensive scheme.
Yep. And that's 16 games played as well compared to some of these guys who are 17 because
Correct.
he got to sit out since they clinched the 1 seed.
Yeah.
All right, coming up here. Now I got Dak Prescott. We already explained it a little bit. Broke out completely this year. Top three in passing yards. I mean, won a lot of the games for the Cowboys. I know they still had some, oh, we only beat teams with losing records. Oh, they still lost in the playoffs, which those are very valid concerns. But just based off the quarterback he is, I mean, he's grinded his way all the way up here. Him and CeeDee Lamb are a top three duo in the league right now. And as long as both those guys are still in Dallas, they're going to be contenders for a long time, and that speaks for itself. So Dak Prescott has to be top 10 right now.
Captain fucking Kirk, baby. They better give that man his money.
They're not going
The only
to.
issue with that money is they also have a defensive front that they'd like to keep.
And they also have no money.
So right.
So
But I love Kirk Cousins. I think over his career he's done some pretty cool things, and I think just as of late he's been really good.
Yep.
That connection between him and Justin Jefferson is beautiful to watch. He's a good quarterback. It was really unfortunate that the turf monster got him this year, just like it did a lot of other players. NFL, please get rid of the turf. It's dangerous for these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they're voting to have it taken out. Make the adjustment. Protect your players. Spend some money. Protect your players.
Yeah, I mean, Kirk Cousins, one of the
Uh,
most likable guys in the league, too. Everyone loves Captain Kirk. All right. I know I hated a little bit a couple slides back, but we got Lamar Jackson still. I couldn't leave him out of the top 10. Still carries his team to the playoffs every year he's healthy. Freak of nature. Anytime he needs to get out of the pocket and run, nobody's going to catch him. Snaps some ankles. Does things that nobody's ever seen a quarterback do before, along with the fact that nobody wanted him to be a quarterback coming into this league. They said, oh, convert to running back, convert to wide receiver. He proved people wrong. He throws with precision. He throws with accuracy. I know there's some big game question marks, but the dude is a stud. His stats completely back it up. So, two-time MVP, unanimous MVP. Should have been unanimous MVP again this year. I know that one dude, the one Josh Allen superfan, gave his vote to Josh Allen. Otherwise, he would have been a unanimous MVP again. So, I mean, the numbers just speak for himself. Lamar has to be top 10. If he wins the Super Bowl, he'll probably be top 5.
100%. I think once he makes that adjustment to being a great passer instead of being a good passer,
Yep.
then 100%.
Which he will. He's
Matthews,
still so
yeah,
young.
100%. I think people forget how young he really is. So, and also his scheme at Louisville, it was all run. I mean, I remember back when they beat the Doonies down on Florida State. Right after, like,
Okay, okay,
oh,
buddy.
that was such a sweet thing to watch. Anyways,
Yeah, people don't
Matthew
understand.
Stafford,
Lamar Jackson, Michael Penix Jr., almost the same exact age. So one of them still in college. One of them is
yeah.
two-time MVP of the NFL. So
Hey, we just went over our mock drafts, and I had Penix going pretty high to the Falcons. Think about Lamar Jackson with a better arm
yep,
and better accuracy and can push the ball down the field.
yep.
That's why I had him so high. Also, Matthew Stafford, he's a dog. Literally, he's a Georgia Bulldog. He's literally a dog. The guy's the toughest motherfucker I've ever seen put on a uniform as a quarterback. Nobody beats him. Playing with broken ribs, hucking Hail Marys with broken ribs, doing whatever to will his team to win. I love Matthew Stafford. That's why I had him top 10.
He's just a dude. His whole team's going to get up and rally behind him because the toughness he shows every single play.
Yeah.
All right, now just falling out of the top 10 right here, I got Captain Kirk. Like we already said, great dude, great quarterback. Similar to Aaron Rodgers, we don't really know what's going to happen this year. Coming off an Achilles injury, a little bit older. I still think both of them have a little bit left in the tank. We can see what happens, but it's always scary not being able to know what's going to happen off the injury, especially when he's up for a contract. If a team goes out there and gives him $40 million per year and he comes back and can't move at all, it's going to be a bit of an issue. But I think both of them should get back to at least an 80% version of themselves. And like we saw this year before Kirk Cousins got injured, he was leading the league in passing yards per game, almost 300 yards per game. Was having an MVP caliber year. I know they had an 0-3 start down in Minnesota, but if you look at that, it was turnovers, fumbles, defense collapses. I mean, there was a lot going on that wasn't really his fault. The running game, I think they had maybe 2 rushing touchdowns the entire year. It was basically Kirk putting the team on his shoulders, and that was also half his games without Justin Jefferson because of the hamstring injury. So if you look at what's going to happen next year, if he does re-sign with Minnesota, I mean, he's definitely going to be in MVP conversations. Justin Jefferson, Offensive Player of the Year conversations. Jordan Addison was the Rookie of the Year conversations last year. T.J. Hawkinson, one of the tight end ones in the league. Like, this offense is going to be very scary next year. And if Kirk Cousins can even get back to 80% of himself, I think he's still this high on the list.
Hey, little off topic, but Jordan Addison or Tank Dell?
Jordan Addison, easily. I think if
Okay.
Tank Dell is same size as Jordan Addison, it's a little closer.
Okay.
But Jordan
So it was the
Addison,
size difference that makes that switch for you.
I mean, Tank Dell's a stud. Like, he had some insane catches this year, but that one touchdown where Jordan Addison took the ball out of Charvarius Ward's hand against the 49ers and won the 49ers have, I mean, no team has ever beaten Kirk Cousins and then lost to Kirk Cousins and then won the Super Bowl. And
Yeah,
that one Jordan Addison catch right there is probably the reason the 49ers lost to the Vikings this year. So, I mean, that was just a
probably,
stud play,
probably.
dude.
Yeah. So Jared Goff, so accurate.
Yep.
The only thing I'm gonna speak on Jared Goff is those numbers. 30 tutties, 12 picks, a little high on the interception rate. That's okay. 4,575 yards passing, 67.2% completions, 84.4 PFF grade. He deserves to be at 11, simply by the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, if the Dolphins didn't put up 70 that one game against the Broncos, Jared Goff probably leads the league in passing yards this year. Like,
Yep.
outstanding year from Jared Goff. I did not expect it at all. I mean, the fact that this dude can, if you look at his lines on underdog, lines on prize picks every single game, it's like half a rushing yard. The teams are not scared of him getting outside the pocket. They know he's going to be standing there. He still throws darts all over the field. I mean, his pocket awareness is insane. And yeah, he'll take some
Yep.
sacks here and there. He'll fumble the ball. But this dude will throw some deep bombs, dude. Jared Goff is a stud, one of the best pure pocket passers in the NFL right now.
Yep.
All
So
right.
looks like we already talked about both of these guys for sure. The only reason I had CJ Stroud this low is simply because he's a rookie. Do it again, then I'll put you up.
Yep. Similar with me. Only reason I have Aaron Rodgers this low, coming off an Achilles tear, didn't do anything last year whatsoever. Almost a full year without football. But like you just said, he comes out this year, does what he always does. He's jumping up the list as well. So these guys are kind of just like in a prove it phase right now. They just need to go out and do it some more.
Yep.
All right. Now we got Trevor Lawrence right here. This dude was supposed to be a generational talent coming out of college, back in his Clemson days, high school days. One of the most dominant dudes, Elite 11 quarterback. You can look at what happened this year. The wide receivers had some drop passes. The offense was kind of in shambles the entire year. I think Trevor Lawrence, out of all these dudes, still has the most upside on this list. Like, he could be that Jared Goff type of dude who is the best pocket passer in the NFL, but he also has some legs on him. So I'm not going to move him up my list right now. He had a pretty down year in Trevor Lawrence standards. I don't think Calvin Ridley will be back next year, so they go target receiver in the draft, bolster up the offense a little bit better, maybe come up with some better schemes. I think Trevor Lawrence is another one of those guys who can shoot up this list, but if he has another year similar to last year, he'll drop even farther. He might be closer to the 20 range if he puts up another stinker like he did this year.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at Trevor Lawrence, you're looking at a young Peyton Manning. I know
Yeah,
that's a crazy, crazy, but if you look at Peyton Manning's, early in his career, he was quite literally awful.
the
He
Colts
he
didn't
has the
want him.
right No, he has the record for most picks thrown in a rookie season ever, and I really don't think that number is going to get beat. Uh, but yeah, I just want to see more from T Law. I want to see him take that next step. I know he has all the tools. I know he has everything to be a great quarterback. We've all seen it. We saw him at Clemson. Just do it, and then once I see it, I'll put him up on my list.
Yeah, and I just want to throw this out there. I know I said poo poo year for Trevor Lawrence, a down year, but a down year for him with missing a game, he was still top 10 in passing yards. He still had over
Yep.
4,000 passing yards this year. Like he's still a stud. I expected to see a little bit more progression at this point in his career, and I really hope he takes that next step next year.
Like I'll shoot him on my list whenever I see it.
Yep.
Another guy, Tua. I think the only reason that I have him up this high is simply because of the weapons he has. I honestly don't think he's a very great quarterback at all.
No, I don't
I think
either.
I think he's really just good enough to put up some cool Madden numbers. Just because I mean Tyreek Hill, Raheem Mostert, I mean, that offense is nuts.
Hmm.
So
Great
then
play
then
calling
there's the
too.
argument with McDaniel. It's
Yep.
crazy. But then there's also the argument of well, you had Brock Purdy way up there. Brock Purdy took his team to the Super Bowl. I didn't see Tua do it. That's why. That's the difference there.
And Brock Purdy's pocket presence is on another level compared to Tua. He's athletic enough to
100%.
get outside the pocket, get down the field, and Tua's been known his whole career as a precision passer. I think Brock Purdy threw with better precision than Tua this year. Like Brock
Yep.
Purdy had a great year. Tua, kind of a similar guy to Trevor Lawrence. They were both supposed to be generational level dudes, and neither of them have really broken out yet. So we'll see what happens next year. But they're both kind of just in that mid quarterback range right now.
I think another kind of shocking thing here is it. Would you like to go first, or would you like me?
No, you can go first.
I got Jalen Hurts on here behind Tua. Uh, I think he's a good leader. I just don't I don't see him as a great quarterback. I see him as a very mid-level quarterback. I think he fits in their scheme really well. They've had a really good offensive line to protect him. I mean, that's a historic offensive line they have in Philly. I think he's really benefited from that. He's benefited from having AJ Brown. He's benefited from a lot of other things. But when I look at him play quarterback, I don't see an accurate passer.
Mm-mm.
I don't see a guy who can really push the field deep. The last time we really saw him do that was in college. And so that's why I have him so low. But the reason I don't have him too low is because he has won important games. He does really great things on the field. His stats really weren't that bad. Not where I wanted him to be, but 23 touchdowns, 15 picks. That's not great. That's not great at all. 3,858 passing yards. He had 15 rushing tutties, so that's important to add in there too. Especially when we're talking about Jalen Hurts. His completion rate was 65.4 and his PFF grade was 86.4. So just in my eyes, those stats are very mid-level quarterback. Therefore, he's in at 14.
Yeah, I mean his numbers aren't terrible, but like you said, last time he was really a great quarterback was at the college level, and when he played in the SEC, we saw him get benched for the guy you just had ahead of him on his list, Tua,
Yep.
and we saw him go and dominate a little bit, but that was also in the Big Ten where they don't play defense, so there's a little bit of question marks surrounding did he actually dominate or was it just wide open five-star recruits all over the field every single time?
There's a reason Tua jumped and took a spot.
Yeah, I thought he was way better at Alabama. And then
Yeah.
you also mentioned the rushing touchdowns. Is that a Jalen Hurts stat or is that an Eagles offensive line stat? That's another question. I
The tush
don't know.
push.
I don't know the exact number, but if I had to guess, at least 12 out of those 15 were probably tush push, which I don't think takes any skill from Jalen Hurts whatsoever. He's just sitting behind that offensive lineman being
Well,
pushed in there.
maybe
So
besides his squat being over 500 pounds.
yeah, but he's not really pushing any of the guys. He's just following behind the guys. Like if you really look at what's going on, he has a couple, maybe 5, 10 yard rushing touchdowns in there. But I mean, his
Hey, I'll be
passing.
curious to see what I'll be curious to see what the tush push looks like next year when Kelsey's not in
I think Kelsey's coming back, but yeah, it'll be interesting.
there. Ooh, hot take.
Yeah. But
I don't
yeah,
know, man. I think he's enjoying retirement.
like you said, Jalen Hurts
So,
had some missed passes this year. Wasn't extremely accurate. We saw AJ Brown get extremely frustrated with him throughout the second half of the year. He has
yeah.
AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, like Julio Jones. He has some pass catchers over there similar to Tua, but at least Tua was getting the stats to back it up. Jalen Hurts didn't really have that. And like we mentioned earlier, a quarterback has to kind of be a leader of men. And we saw him arguing with his coaches on the sideline. We saw him arguing with his wide receivers on the sideline. Like it didn't look great in Philly this year, and we saw one of the biggest collapses ever because they started off great this year, but the second Jalen Hurts started missing some of his throws, AJ Brown got frustrated. They never really rebuilt that chemistry, and I think there's definitely some huge question marks around Jalen Hurts going in this year.
No doubt.
Like we mentioned with Jared Goff, though, there's not too much to say there. Great pocket passer, number 2 in the league in passing yards. Could have been number 1 if Tua didn't have such a phenomenal year this year. But I think he's kind of like at his ceiling. I don't really see Jared Goff getting a whole lot better than what he is right now, but I don't really see him getting a whole lot worse, especially with that Lions team. So I think he's just going to sit right in that mid range for quarterbacks his whole career. He's going to be a great pocket passer. He's not going to be a He's going to be like Cam Newton said. He's going to be a game manager. He's not going to be a game changer. He's not going to go help his team win, but he's going to do everything he can to let his team win. So I think Jared Goff is one of those mid-level quarterbacks with a great arm and great accuracy.
Uh,
Oh my
I have
gosh.
I have Jordan Love here. I think a part of it is eye test for me. Obviously, it's some really good numbers. He made some really good adjustments later on, like later on in the year. You didn't really see him come into his own until halfway through the season, and then he just started dominating, and he did real well. But that was the first time we ever saw that from him. So that's one of the reason that he's there. I think he goes and does it again next year, then I'll push him up the list.
Yeah, I got Brock Purdy pretty far down my list. I mean, like I mentioned,
Crazy, crazy
say what you want. He's a check down
hater,
merchant. I hope
naysayer,
Trent Williams retires this year. I hope Brandon
naysayer.
Ayuk goes to the Commanders for a bag. And I hope Christian McCaffrey regresses. So everyone can chill out with all this Brock Purdy talk. This
Big
dude
cock Brock.
is a system quarterback. He has
Nope.
all the weapons in the world. He's basically playing in the Big Ten right now. He has a dominant offense. His defense is carrying. He's an SEC team playing in the Big Ten. That's what's going on right now. So if we saw that with any of these teams, this is exactly what would happen. So barring Brock Purdy getting traded to another team or
Won't happen.
his offense completely falling apart, won't happen. Nobody's going to really be able to prove or disprove this theory. So I guess call him what you want. Say he's a top 5 quarterback. I'm not hopping on that train. Brock Purdy for me, this even feels a little bit high. I don't think skill set alone he should be this high up above some of the other guys that are going to come up. But I mean, the stats, him going to the Super Bowl, the things he's accomplished, I have to have him here. But like I said, this still feels a little rich for Brock Purdy talent level.
So here's a little comparison for you.
Okay.
How do you feel about Mr. Kurt Warner?
Uh, Played in one of the best offenses of all time, but I
So
I don't
so
think
but how
he's
do you feel about him as a quarterback?
I don't think he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. Nobody ever talks about Kurt Warner like that,
He was a part of one of the greatest show on turf.
which is what they're gonna say about Brock Purdy, part of one of the most elite offenses of all time.
Wow.
Especially if they do it again next year.
Okay.
But I do see Trent Williams regressing. He's getting older. He might retire.
You got to
Brandon
get the boys the
Ayuk.
ball.
We saw
You
Brandon
got to get the
Ayuk's
boys the ball.
brother pissed on Instagram after they lost the Super Bowl at
Oh
Brock
yeah.
Purdy too. He said, "Throw my brother the ball. He got you guys here." Commanders
That's also
looking to.
family bickering.
Yeah, we saw the same thing happen with Stephon Diggs last year. We all thought he was out of
Right.
Buffalo. He came back. But I mean, it's possible Brandon Ayuk might be out of there. And if Brock Purdy does something similar, he's gonna prove the haters wrong, myself included. But there's a lot of things that have to happen for me to move him up my list, and as of right now, I just don't see it, especially eye test levels. Like I haven't seen him
Okay.
do anything that changes the game more than any of these other guys can. All right, another hot take right here. Jalen Hurts all the way down my list. I mean, we already mentioned it. He's not a great quarterback. Lamar Jackson gets all the hate for all the running back allegations. Look at Jalen Hurts. Take away his tush push rushing touchdowns. Take away AJ Brown or Devontae Smith. Even with them, like he did nothing this year. They completely fell apart. Their defense, I mean, it the secondary was questionable. They gave up some big passes, but the offense could have kept them in it, but they didn't do much all year, and I don't blame that on the offense. I don't blame it on the offensive line. I don't blame it on the wide receivers. I blame it on Jalen Hurts. He had a very bad year, and coming into this year, obviously coming off the Super Bowl last year, I think I had him top 10. He had a lot more accuracy last year, a lot more big plays with his legs, not just tush push plays. But this year kind of felt more schemed out. We're only going to do tush push runs. We're only going to take check downs. We're only going to run slants and out routes. Like, and he missed some of those throws. So I need to see a little bit more dynamicness from Jalen Hurts, but he's pretty low on my list right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more.
Yep.
Baker Mayfield. What a dog. What a comeback. He's just reminding everybody that he is him. This guy can sling it with anybody else in the league. Just as good. I love Baker Mayfield. The only reason he's down low in this list is because of his fallout with his other teams. So obviously, I think he needed to make some adjustments, but I think he did that, and I think he's going to do it again this year. I mean, let's look at his numbers for Baker Mayfield. We've got 28 touchdowns to 10 picks. Good.
Phenomenal.
4,044 passing yards. That's crazy. That's good. Over 4,000 yards in a year is
Top
crazy.
10 in passing yards.
Top 10. 64.3 completion rate. That's better than a lot of the guys on this list. A little low on the Pro Football Focus score at 74.6. That's because Baker Mayfield plays like Baker Mayfield plays. He doesn't always make the right reads, but damn it, he gets the job done.
Yeah, another team I thought was getting maybe 3, 4 wins coming into this year, and they went out and won the division and won a playoff game. Like, I think Baker
Granted, the
Mayfield.
division was terrible.
Yeah, I agree, but I think Baker Mayfield single-handedly won a couple of those games for his team. Like he went.
Oh, yeah.
I know week 1 against the Vikings had that game in the bag. Baker Mayfield, in like 3rd and 7, goes and trucks one of the Vikings corners, gets the first down, kick a game-winning field goal. They won the game because of that, and their whole season was pretty much just a similar story to that. Like Baker Mayfield just putting the team on his back. And
I promise you, there's nobody out. There's nobody who wanted Kyle Trask to start more than me at the beginning of the year. But Baker Mayfield went out there and proved me wrong.
yep, I agree. And um, shoot, what was I gonna say? All right, we can just go to the next one. I was gonna say something about Baker Mayfield, but slipped my mind. You can talk
Okay.
about Russell Wilson. I'll try to remember what I was gonna say about Baker.
Yeah. So Russell Wilson, uh, big bad fallout this year. But let's not forget, Russell Wilson led his team to the Super Bowl. If they had just run the ball, they'd have won that game against the Patriots. Simple as that. He is a great quarterback. He is a good quarterback. He's a little bit older now. He's fading away. Uh, all the issues with the Broncos. He didn't have a great year. The team isn't very good. The organization isn't very good. So that's kind of what has him lingering in this kind of part of the list. I think he's better than this part of the list, but his performance in the last season was just that's what it is. That's where he is in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I have Russell Wilson outside my top 20. I thought he had a good like 6 game stretch going there, but the year before that he was terrible. Beginning of the season they started like 0-5, terrible. I think mentality definitely has something to do with it when your coach is asking you to take a $35 million pay cut in the middle of the season and telling you you're going to get benched otherwise. Like, what motivation do you have to even go out there and perform? So he's a guy who could come up my list, but as it stands right now, I haven't seen enough from him in the last couple of years to have him top 20.
Yeah, and let's also look at his leadership stuff. On paper, he might be the greatest leader on paper. But if I'm a teammate that sees Broncos country, let's ride. Screw that. He's the cheesiest dude ever. I wouldn't want to play for him.
Yep. Yeah, people have been on that for a while. We saw Sean Payton come in this year and immediately tell him, "Hey,
We're not kissing babies.
yeah, stop with that. Like, just come out here and play football. We don't want to do any of that corny shit anymore."
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Yeah, whatever I was gonna say about Baker completely slipped my mind. But like you said, stud of a year. He did what he had to do with the football. Didn't turn the ball over. Hit his receivers when he needed to. They had one of the worst run games in the NFL for the first like 14 games of the season, so they
Yep.
depended on Baker a lot, and he still went out there, did what he needed to do, won the games. They started off strong. Everyone was like, "Oh, they're gonna win the division." Hit a little rough patch in the middle of the year, and then he came back, finished strong, won a playoff game. So that's really all you can ask from Baker Mayfield. First year in a system too, so I expect he'll probably get better this year if they re-sign him. I know a couple teams want to talk to Baker. $20 million a year feels like a good price for him, so I'd imagine he's back in Tampa next year.
I think if he doesn't end up back in Tampa, there's one team that I think he could help tremendously if they don't get a deal done with Kirk Cousins.
100%.
Don't be so surprised if we see Baker in Minnesota, simply because they can get him for cheaper and also have a little bit of a higher ceiling than Kirk has.
And that's a 50% discount, 20 million to 40 million. And
And you
if
get to
they
keep your line. You have a good running game. You can add in the draft.
can keep Danielle Hunter, if you
Hmm.
sign Baker for 3 years, you have an option. Do I want to go Jaden Daniels in the first and then go after Chris Braswell out of Alabama in the second to get on the defensive line? Do I want to go Jared Verse in the first, try and go after like a JJ McCarthy in the second round? Getting a guy on a cheaper contract like that kind of gives you more options. So that'll definitely be a
100%.
and like you said, I think Baker can comp pretty similarly to Kirk. I know they're completely separate styles of players, but Baker's younger. He obviously won the Heisman. He has a huge upside, and Kirk coming off the Achilles, like Baker Mayfield could be a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins next year. So,
We've also seen Kirk ceiling.
yep,
He's had enough years in the league where we know that's where he is.
yep.
Baker had the same opportunity, and that is has been Deshaun Watson, who's been pretty decent. But I want to see Baker in Minnesota just because I want to see him with those weapons. Because I know Mike Evans is in Tampa this year. He's going to go sign somewhere else because he can go get a bag somewhere else.
All right, let's try and speed through these last couple picks because
Yeah, we're late on time here.
yeah, we're getting a little bit of a video issue because the video's going on a little bit too long. So
Okay.
just trying to speed through these last couple picks.
Yep.
All right, Tua, we already talked about him. Could be a guy top 10 next year for me. Could fall out of my top 20. I just need to see more from him. I need to see what's going to happen with him, and I don't want to see him carried by his teammates. I want to see him step up and carry a little bit.
Yeah, this guy really hates guys who are on good teams. But anyways, I still do slightly agree with all that stuff. That's why I have Tua pretty low on my list as to where his numbers show where he should be. T Law, I already explained earlier. I want to see him be who he can be. I don't want to see him as a mid level quarterback because he has so much more talent than that. Reach your ceiling, push a little bit to more winning games, and really being you as a quarterback. Uh, Show me the Peyton Manning that I see. I'll push you up.
All right, this could be controversial. I think these last 15 through 20 are, and then 20 through 25 who aren't on our list could obviously be pushed in. I got Daniel Jones here. We saw what he did when he had an offensive line. He had no receivers, still carried this completely depleted Giants team into the playoffs, beat the Vikings 2 years ago. I think Daniel Jones had probably the best game of his career in the playoffs, so that shows he can do it on a big level too without any receivers. We had guys coming off the sofa last year, as we saw for the Giants. They had third string, fourth string linemen, gave up the most sacks. Daniel
Papa
Jones,
John's boy.
yep, Daniel Jones destroyed his, I don't remember his knee or his Achilles or something, but another terrible injury. I think this year they go get some offensive line, stay healthy, maybe go after Malik Neighbors in the draft, give him a weapon. I think Daniel Jones could come up the board, But like all these other guys, he's another dude who, if he doesn't get better this year, he might not even be the starting quarterback on his team next year. So it's a big year for Daniel Jones. But I saw 2 years ago he had a phenomenal year. Last year, not so much, and he got injured. I think some of those things are out of his hands. But I like Daniel Jones. I think he's a good quarterback.
I like Daniel Jones too. Unfortunately, last year just I don't know. He got hurt, and I just haven't seen a lot from Daniel Jones. He had one good year, but that was it. So that's kind of why he's not here for me. Uh, Speaking of couches, Deshaun Watson, uh, you know, uh,
Oh my
he,
God.
when he's on the field and he's not dealing with legal trouble, he's a really great quarterback. He did it
Yeah.
at Clemson. He did it in Houston. So when he's on the field and he's not getting massages, he's a really good quarterback.
Yeah.
However, legal trouble, not on the field, you're stuck at 19, pal.
Yeah. I mean, if he clears all the legal trouble, comes back the way he was in Houston, people forget he was like a top five quarterback before all this stuff happened. But he hasn't played in like three
Right.
years. If he doesn't play again this year, he's probably out the league. Another dude like Daniel
Yep.
Jones, this year is huge for him. We have to see what happens.
Yep.
Number 20 on my list, Justin Fields. Just like all these guys, huge year for him. I think he's going to be a future Steeler. I think he's going to the Steelers this year with the Bears probably getting Caleb Williams. I need to see his pocket presence improve. He's a one-read quarterback, really as true as they come. If it's not there, he's getting sacked. If he chooses to run and the running lanes are blocked, he's going down. If he chooses to run and the wide receivers are open, he can't make that adjustment to go. If he chooses to go to the receivers and the running lanes open up, he just doesn't adjust very well. He doesn't he doesn't read the defenses very well, and I need to see his IQ raise a little bit. He has all the athletic ability and the skills in the world to be that guy. I was huge on him coming into the league. I thought he was going to be a great quarterback. Still hasn't developed, but I mean, it's possible. We saw in an interview recently he said the best player he's ever had on his team was Chase Young when he was at Ohio State, and he actually said that the coaches didn't let Chase Young practice when Justin Field was taking offensive reps because it was too easy for him to get after him. When you're not practicing against the best defensive players you can, you're not going to perform against the best defensive players you can. So I think that was actually a huge statement to he has never practiced against top level talent, so how is he supposed to perform against top level talent? I think he needs to go out there and grind and work on his pocket presence. And I think he has all the athletic ability to be a Kyler Murray type player. He definitely needs to show a lot of improvement next year.
Just like in college, Georgia saw the talent, and then they also saw what he couldn't do.
Yep.
Transfers to Ohio State, where they coddle him,
Where they don't play defense.
where they don't play defense. So, uh, I remember back in the day, it was Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. They were the two generational quarterbacks coming in. They were going to take over the league, and they were just the best anybody's ever seen coming out of high school.
The Elite
Hasn't
11
really gone
days,
that way.
bro. They were
The
dominating
Elite
the
11
Elite
days,
11.
100%. It was those two competing. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence has been in a little better situation, and honestly, I wouldn't even say too much of a better situation. Trevor Lawrence is just a better passer and a better quarterback. Uh, Here on 20 at my list, we have Anthony Richardson. Dude is a dog. The small sample size that we saw last year was phenomenal. He showed that he could put the Colts on his back. So for that reason, I'm putting him on the list. I want to see him do it again next year. Then we'll rise him up. I think he'll be a top 15, top 10 quarterback next year.
I was about to agree with you completely. Like I think he's probably better right now than three or four of the guys that I just listed on my list due to the small sample size. Didn't want to throw him on my list yet. But if he comes out next year and plays like he did this year, all I need to see is a little bit progression game by game. And yeah, he's gonna be top 15, top 20 on my list too. He's a stud, athletic freak, can chuck a deep ball too. Like I love what I
Oh,
saw from
yeah.
Anthony Richardson.
Accuracy, running the ball, deep ball. What does he not do?
Exactly. And he's super young too. So much development ahead of him.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He's gonna be better than Lamar Jackson.
He
Mark
could
my
be.
words.
He could be. All right, guys. Well, that's it. That's our top 20 quarterbacks in the NFL coming into this next season. If you guys want to go down below, like the video, give us a thumbs up, comment down below what you would change, what you like about our list, what you hate about it. Uh, I know you guys are gonna hate me for what I said about Brock Purdy. Go ahead, tell me how much you hate it. I would love to hear from you guys. Give me a little feedback. Subscribe to the channel. We're gonna be trying to get a couple videos out per week for you guys, a couple mock drafts. We're gonna be doing a MLB division by division. preseason expectations for who we think is going
Excited
to
for
win the
that.
division. That's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks. And we're going to get a lot more NFL content. I know the combine's coming up next week, so a lot of stuff's going to change for us. We're going to hear a lot of new stuff. And yeah, excited to make some content for you guys.